does that too. Like one time I bought one of the first battery-powered impact wrenches, right? Half-inch drive Hitachi at a pawn shop. And I took it home and I said, hey Dad, look what I bought, you know? And he's like, oh yeah, let me borrow that. Well, guess what? Ended up in his truck for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, but that's my dad, that's cool.
Hey, welcome to Engineers Workshop. Hey, look at this. We got t-shirt weather in early March. It's awesome. The other day, my son and I went down to visit Doozer's shop. My son bought a Walker Turner radial arm drill from Doozer, and we brought it back up. Same day, down and up. But I decided to just do a little bit of filming while I was down there. And let me tell you what, if you've never seen Doozer's shop, check out his channel. He has got an amazing number of machines, beautiful machines, big machines. So I just ran the camera, we freestyled it, very little editing. And this is a long one. You might have to break this up into a couple sessions. I think it's about an hour and 15 minutes long, but just listen to him describe what he had and enjoyed the day. Loaded up the radial arm drill press and came on home. So check out Doozer's shop and hope you enjoy it. Thank you. So Brennan and I, you know, he's got access to all my tools, and
Yeah.
he has a good head start on building his own collection.
Well, that's good.
Know where to put it yet.
Yep.
So we're here in North Carolina, and what's the is this?
We're Charlotte, Mint Hill, Charlotte.
Mint Hill, Charlotte.
Yep.
At Doozer's shop. We're here to pick up a Walker Turner radial arm drill, which is a really cool piece of equipment, and it's a sister machine to a radial arm saw that we have back at our shop. So, but your mind will be blown when you see everything that Doozer has in here.
Absolutely.
And I haven't seen the jig bore yet in person, so
Yeah.
yeah. So here we go.
All right, let's go take a look.
What are these 12-foot doors?
12 foot and 10 foot wide, yeah. So let me move my chainsaw gas.
That's a substantial set of doors.
Yeah,
It's really just a hinged wall.
it is a hinged wall. They're insulated, you know, 2x4. You know, so they're just like a wall.
Do you see his gantry crane in there, Brennan?
Oh yeah.
So these doors have only been on here like 2 weeks.
I'd do something like this at the building, probably be easier than a roll
Oh,
up.
I know. So that'll work. And I got a whole bunch of hinges on them. I actually did, they had 4 holes for the screws, and I added these 3 because they're closer in. They're made for, like a wide throw hinge, but
Yeah.
they're just more heavy duty, more good or better. And I mortised them into the door, but I face mounted them to the.
And you built this
Yeah.
entire shop. Think you got enough cross bracing in your end wall there?
Well, yeah.
That's awesome.
And you know, you can see that the roof is OSB except for that plywood area there. That's where the tree hit it. And I got a video of that like 2 years ago
yeah.
on Christmas morning. The tree hit it.
So what you got? Is it a 3-ton trolley?
2-ton trolley, 2-ton hoist, and I've got an identical 2-ton hoist. And I just got off eBay an identical 2-ton trolley.
So you could bridge them. You could put a little crane bridge and have 4 tons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The structure is good for it. You know,
Yeah.
it'll do it.
Yeah.
So that's cool. These are electrical conduit. They're not thin wall conduit. This is like the
Yeah.
pipe conduit.
Yeah, it's essentially Schedule 40 pipe, I
Schedule
think.
40 pipe. And they're galvanized, which is jam up, right?
Yeah.
And my buddy lives on the shore of Lake Erie up in Buffalo.
Uh-huh.
And these pipes washed up on shore.
Oh my gosh.
And he saved them for years. And then I said, hey, Doozer can use these.
Yeah.
And these are 10 foot. I spliced them there on a
Uh-huh.
half section, so they're 15 foot long.
Uh-huh.
Tall, you know. And the cool thing is, these get inserted into the base. So what you do is you put the beam on the base. They kind of sister on here within pieces of channel. And then you put the columns in after the beam is on the base, and then you crank it up with the boat hoist.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see. And then
So
the pin,
one
then the
man
pin.
can put them up.
That's cool.
And one man has put them up.
That's your invention, basically, right?
It was a week and a half to build this.
Yeah. Time well spent.
And that's 5-inch channel made into a box.
right?
And see, this is what people don't get. They put a single caster on each corner, you know, 4 casters.
No, that way's better.
And this spreads the load. It gives you a base.
Well,
so
each leg can stand and roll around.
Exactly.
Yeah, when it's all taken apart.
So when you load it, it's not getting more tippy. It's getting more stable because you're putting more force on the base, and it's trying to stay upright.
Yeah.
Not
And it's
exactly
hanging. It's pulling. Pulling from the underside. I know what you mean.
So
We built rake arms like that, sandwiched 2 structurals together.
let me get the
Sort
forklift.
of takes place in diagonals too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because you're trapping it in a tube.
Yeah. It's a placard. This Kingsbury is supposed to go here.
Right.
Right. I took it off because I'm cleaning it. And I'm not worried about having outside because cast iron cleans up easier than steel. But this was a Kingsbury drilling machine. And
Okay.
It had like little sideways drilling, pneumatic drilling rigs. And this top is all ground and beautiful. And it was like a special purpose machine. Now Kingsbury made
Thrust bearings.
thrust bearings
If
for,
it's the
for
same.
hydraulic.
Yeah,
I
if
think
it's
it
the
is.
same. Yeah. Same
And
company.
they made those multi-station drilling machines. What were those called?
I know what you mean. It's like, 3, 4 drill presses in a row, gang drills.
No, it had a round thing. It was like a Hearth coupling table and a multi-station. God, if I can think of the name of those.
That's a nice little table right there.
Yeah, that came out of Hudai Industries,
Turret,
Vibertech.
Turret drill?
Turret drill?
Turret drill, maybe.
This, you got a purpose for this one?
I kind of want to put a belt sander on it. I got a
Okay.
belt sander from 1920.
Oh, wow.
About when they were invented, because 3M, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing, invented sandpaper in like 1920.
Yeah.
And I got this belt sander I was going to go on there. But anyways, this thing is so cool. It's like an altar, right? A pedestal. It's got the sexy lines. It's undercut and it's all curvy and swoopy. And I think this is for your legs if an operator was to sit here. But this was upside down in a dumpster.
Oh my gosh.
Sideways upside down. So I got the forklift at work and I got a chain. And thank God it's not where the video cameras can see you doing, weird, dangerous stuff. But I yanked this back out. And I'd love to put it in my living room if it was so darn heavy,
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do something with it.
It'd look more at home in my shop.
You know what? I've got a 1927 South Bend 9-inch lathe that would just be cool as heck on here.
That would hold the
rigid?
No, that would hold the act return, I think. Because don't forget, it was trashed.
It was trashed. No, it looked out of place. But I had to save this. It's just
it
beautiful.
is neat. It is
know.
neat.
And somebody, I was reading something on Home Shopper Practical Machinist, and the guy made the comment, the machines that people save, functionality, they're usable, and then they get outdated with newer technology or CNC or carbide.
Yeah.
But the ones that look pleasing to the eye, people save.
Yeah.
Because they're just neat looking.
Well, there's nobody makes anything with lines like that anymore.
And this is what I'm talking about.
Nothing's
This
cast
is just
iron anymore.
No, nothing's cast iron.
Yeah, it's all weldments and
Yeah.
whatever.
See the monster. Well, first of all, this is the one that you're trying to get anybody to buy.
No, that's that one.
Oh, that's that one. Okay.
No, that's the Held. That thing's from the
Okay.
1920s.
I
30s.
thought that was the one that you put on Practical Machinist.
No, this is an internal grinder. See this
Internal
thing?
grinder.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is Parker. I don't know if it's Parker Majestic, but
Well, I don't know.
But this thing is so heavily built. I know
Oh,
you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
tell. This bed that holds the grinding wheel, this goes underneath. Like this is kind of hollow under here,
Right.
and it goes the whole way. And
Goes
this
the whole way.
swivels for angles and tapers rather.
I know. That's so cool.
That's-
And so
and the ways are not screwed up.
this guy, how long of a piece between centers would this do?
Well, I mean that's kind of. So I'd say a foot. This comes back a little bit more.
Yeah.
And the neat thing is, it's got the cam thingy for cam grinding. I think this. I lift it up. Let me get in your shot here. And it's supposed to be free, and it's got oil cups on it. But that'll go up and down as it spins for grinding.
What actuates it?
There's something missing on the end. You can kind of look. Nice shape if you look underneath. And rack and pinion moves back and forth.
What was the price on that one now?
Like $300.
$300.
So I already got one.
And if you're getting into cylindrical grinding, I mean, it's a good entry small machine. These are repulsion induction 110 motors, which is awesome, right?
Yeah.
They got brushes,
Yeah.
you know. I don't know. But, yeah.
And then this is the big boy. Jeez, oh man.
Yep, that's my video, my last video of delivering it here myself. That's a 1959 Pratt and Whitney 2A, and it's the big one. They had the 18 by 36 table and the 22 by 44 table. This is the big table.
Doozer is trying to eliminate condensation here, trying to heat it up.
Yeah, until I get insulated and the ceiling in and everything.
Have you had power to it yet?
At the guy's place.
Okay.
You know, everything's quiet and good. I've hit my head on this a couple times.
Uh-huh.
Yesterday, I was changing the oil in my tractor and I had the bucket up, and then I knocked myself out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was awful, dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that guy's still up on its little round rods, huh?
Yeah, it's still got the rods. It's got jack feet, and I'm gonna take them out, wire brush them, and clean them up.
That is so cool.
And it's got, this is the clutch, brake, neutral.
Uh-huh.
So this, I guess, is brake, you know, neutral, and, you know, engage. So that's cool. And this, there's linear ball bearings in this quill housing.
Yeah.
It's redonkulous. Look at the oil staining. You can see where each ball
Yep.
kind of were, you know.
Yeah.
9 inches a stroke.
You can see it, but you can't feel it.
Yeah.
It comes off, actually. That's
It's just varnish.
yeah, so you can get a preload on that quill without and still have it move.
Now, not all of them were like this. The ones that you can tell, these were a one-piece quill housing. The ones that did not have this had like a cap, like a bearing cap and bolts.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Which you could make as good as one piece. You could bore
Yeah.
that and
Yeah.
register it and everything. But that is just
The
so
only
cool.
thing is, it's not a drawbar. It's got a nose cone and takes Pratt and Whitney collets. I got like 15, 16 collets now. I'm jamming up with collets. So this is a 3-speed transmission. There's 3 gears up in the head, back in, you know,
Uh-huh.
up there. And the motor is a 4-speed electric motor.
Huh.
I think it's 3 horsepower at, I think it's 1800 RPM, and then it steps it down. But, I mean, the ways are in fabulous shape. It was at a Navy training facility for the Navy. The digital readout, I think, is toast, but I'm going to get a new wall, you know.
Yeah.
Somebody put a jam-up lubrication system on it, the Bijur,
Oh yeah.
however you say it.
Bijur, I always
Bijur,
said.
Bijur.
We use Bijur on a lot of equipment.
Now, this has got an extra foot built into it, as far as I can tell, from the factory in height, which is kind of cool. The spec book says, I think, 104 inches, and this thing's 115 inches. But I found a lubrication records in the box, 1959. So it was ordered special by the military, the Navy, and I think they ordered it extra high, because every book I have, like I said, says 104 inches, and this is like 115. And I think this will move. I had it lubricated. This moves the whole, you know,
Yeah.
drilling section up and down. I calculated it out. The counterweight in the column weighs like 1,000 pounds.
Oh yeah.
You know. But no, like I said, there's stuff on the floor, air hoses, and slide that closed just for the heat. All right, welcome to Doozer Shop. That's how I begin my videos. Welcome to Doozer Shop. Been working in the shop. We got a whole bunch of stuff everywhere. This is the decal. That's what that table was from. The angle table. Kind of goes on the front here. So let's see, Brian. Where should I start? This is the Rockford hydraulic open side planer. It's only a 3-foot planer, but
Only.
Only, yeah, it's only. So that came from Westinghouse.
Have you planed anything yet with it?
Quit being so negative. All the ways.
We got to
are
push.
clean.
We got to push Doozer. He's spending so much time polishing the machines. He has to make some chips.
Well, you know yourself when you maybe YouTube landers don't know, when you get a new machine, you got to clean the ways.
Oh, I know. That's why I bought one that was in service. It's already ready to go.
Yeah.
I have enough projects. That's why.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was just black with gook. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
got lacquer thinner on a rag and just cleaned it. I mean, the lead screw.
Look at that thing.
I
It's
got lead
like new.
lacquer thinner and a brush, and I kept brushing it, rotating it, brushing it. But I mean, this thing moves like candy now, right? And everything's all oil. So cleaned it up. You know, the table I gotta just wire brush that. But the ways are in good shape. It's got 30 gallons of oil. I gotta change the oil.
Yep.
Just because I don't want it. It absorbs moisture, humidity,
Yeah.
the oil, and I don't want to run it through the system type thing.
Notice it has a side head too.
Oh, yeah.
They're both single point, or you got a rotary head for it?
I do have a Bridgeport J head upstairs, a spare one, so I could.
Spare. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
for a
extra.
rainy day.
You got to have a spare J head.
Yep.
But no, the old school. I mean, it's just a single point back and forth.
Single point. So I figured out this is on and off, and this is low, medium, high. You hear the oil ka-chunk. So that's cool. I think this is the speed. It's a variable displacement pump and motor, or no, cylinder. No, it can't be a cylinder. The pump is something's variable displacement. That's just not a volume control. This is the step over control. How much it rotates the shaft for each, rotation. John Crane valves. You heard of Crane packing and Crane plumbing. So Crane toilets.
We use the big versions of those in water wastewater.
Oh yeah.
They're specified
You guys,
sometimes.
You totally know that.
Yeah, 8-inch, 10-inch, 20-inch.
So this was the hand wheel, and I replaced it with a Bridgeport hand wheel, crank rather, because it's 5/8 with a 1/8 keyway, so that's kind of unusual. What else? I'll show you back here. This is the inspection area. I got an automatic lamp that comes on, and I put a little shaving mirror here. They got these at IKEA. In case you get something in your eye, you can get it out with a little shaving mirror there. It's kind of neat.
Or if you fall asleep in your shop, you never have to go to your house. You just wake up and shave.
Wake up and do a shave. So you can open this up. This is more tooling storage. I don't know if you can get, maybe you got to get around here to. And it's just shelving of multiple pieces of dividing heads and chucks and angle plates and.
That's one of the heads I was considering getting for my
Let me
machine.
move this and you can actually open the other one just because I had the grinder.
That's a Bridgeport right angle head, right? The green one.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
With I think that could be bored. It possibly could be bored to fit on.
Oh, something else.
On mine, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you got a motor with almost this exact frame.
Yep, big open frame, or not open, well, semi-open frame.
It's probably the same. Mine's GE 10 horse.
That's what that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Westinghouse
that's
like this.
that is Westinghouse. Yeah.
I thought mine's a GE. Maybe it's a
The one
Westinghouse.
you got apart. It was
Hey, what's the next machine we got here? The
The
G&L
Giddings and Lewis 25T.
2.5, right?
Yes.
Size
Yeah,
2.5.
2.5 inch. Yeah.
Same machine as Dave Richards.
Dave Richards had the
Old
same
old
one.
old steam powered machine shop.
Yep. 4 Morse taper. I just got I don't know. I just got this in there for whatever reason. This will actually come out twice as much. It goes 13 inches, and then you got to reset the rack, and it comes out another 13 inches. Oh, I hear the vacuum suction. I'm going to make a plate here for that boring facing head, But this thing took forever to clean. It's still got the wave flaking on it. This thing was so dirty. It came from a plastics injection molding place in North Charlotte. And they used it for drilling coolant passages in the molds or something.
So you didn't move this from New York. This was
No, this came from here. This was my first thing that I moved that was over like 4,000 pounds.
Well, that's about 10, isn't it?
This is like, 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look at the base. Somebody made a riser I thought that was I-beam, but it's actually C-channel. That's 10-inch C-channel. They made a riser on this joker.
Uh-huh.
And it's very beautifully done.
It is well done.
The welding and the craftsmanship and the mitering is like a die maker did this or something.
So the G&L, you say you don't have the tailstock piece?
No, I do not. No.
Okay. And this is the boring head. What's the capacity of the boring head?
I think that's a 20-inch head.
Yeah, we put pegboards in a cabinet for them anyway.
Yeah, unless you're hanging like...
Here's an XY rotary table.
Yeah, something like that.
That is neat to have. ER40 collet set.
So... Alright.
Go ahead in there.
So the SIP, actually I could turn the lamp on, makes it lights up under the, there you go. Now she's in the glory mode. So the SIP I got from a machine tool dealer in Concord, North Carolina, Paul Sebastiano, and he's from Jersey, and nobody wanted this thing at an auction, so I bought it pretty cheap.
There's one you saw on eBay now. It's like 30. Well, it's been on there for months.
Yeah.
3,200.
Yeah.
It's a shame. They're such neat machines.
Yeah. They're amazing, and not too many have the double spindle. This one goes to like 2,000 RPM. I think this one's only 300 RPM. But what's interesting about this, it's got the brass tag for RPMs, but I don't know what model it is. It's either an MP4 or an MP5. Now, all the information online, the table is bigger than an MP4.
Yeah.
So I think it's maybe an MP4 with an extended table. I think this is 32 inches by 27 inches.
It's more than 32.
Is it?
It's at least 36.
Yeah, maybe it was 37. And these rods will come up and touch the ceiling, the lift Acme's.
Yeah.
But power feed works. All the ways are in perfect condition. It's like this came out of a laboratory. It's amazing.
It's precision hole placement. Like super precision hole placement.
Absolutely. You know, and I do light milling on it. So this is cool. The table slots are 16 millimeter.
Doozer's DRO here.
Oh yeah.
Giant dial.
And it's sticky. It should. There you go.
Yeah.
3-inch travel.
3-inch travel.
I mean, you can use the vernier marks and add and subtract the backlash, but ain't got time for that. That just can't be bothered with micron precision when you're milling.
And this thing has it has a ground bar that a follower rides against, and there's this funky lever mechanism that moves the zero to compensate for the inaccuracies of the lead screw. This thing will put holes in positions like sub-tenth accuracy, if all that is working as it should.
And this is the side one. See how that moves? So this moves on the cam. There's a linear cam on the x-axis here, and that offsets your zero. So if your lead screw is leading or lagging, you can. And I read on PM that guys used to come out and they'd file the cam to get it back in spec when they come out and they calibrate it with gauge blocks or whatever. Yeah,
I mean the skill it took to establish what is exact progression over 3 feet just is mind-boggling.
Yep, and you guys, Moore did the super accurate lead screws that didn't have compensators. That was how Moore did it. And all it started with the standard and the National Bureau of Standards, and then they had Johansson blocks to transfer that. And now, I mean, think about it. Digital readouts, they have them scales, right? Whether it's glass scale or magnetic scale or whatever, capacitive scale. But the people that make the digital readout scales have to use Joe blocks reference to the National Bureau of Standards anyways.
Yeah.
So all this stuff goes back to the inch or the millimeter or whatever you call it, the meter. We just package the reference in a different way via a screw or a light scale or a capacitive scale. It's neat, how we do this modern stuff.
It is neat.
So that's that. This thing's really cool. A tip for people that maybe see Vectra number 2, they recommend for weighs on everything. There's Vectra number 4, which is heavier. But what I do, I buy that, on the vertical surfaces, I want something thick that's not going to run down, because I use Vector 2 and it just puddles on the table.
Yeah.
I use like STP or Lucas Motor Honey. It's like
the
molasses.
STP, doesn't that turn goopier though as it sits?
I don't know.
I know I got a bottle of
I'll
STP.
do a product placement. We got Lucas oil stabilizer.
The STP bottle that I have collects dust like nobody's business.
Are you filming? I mean, it's just such a slow.
Yeah. The mold company, Redicon, used STP to lubricate quad rings as they're putting all these die things together. I don't know what but it let the quad rings, which are more susceptible to pinching than an O-ring.
Interesting. Yeah.
It lets them slide over the the leading edge of the piston. Yeah, they used to use STP. So I know that'd be good stuff. I should consider that for some of my, like the quill inside the 2D. That spline gets chattery when it gets dry, and you oil it and it's fine. But then the oil will run out, and then it gets chattery again. So STP would be a good. I'm gonna give that a try.
Yeah. Okay.
Tip from Doozer, STP.
That's right. Don't trip on stuff. So I did an initial video on this. I don't even know if I published it yet. This is a Yanmar 2-cylinder. I think it's just under 600 cc. This came out of a Thermo King. I thought it was a refrigeration unit for like a reefer trailer, but it's for if you got a sleeper cab, it puts the air conditioning on, and there's an alternator to charge your battery, and the coolant is spliced into the diesel engine of the rig, and it keeps your engine warm. So I got this. I traded a junk car for it at the junkyard, and he's got two more of these. But it's 13 horsepower at 3,600 RPM, 11 horsepower at 2,400 RPM.
It's almost the same size as your Hots.
No, it's a 1 liter, 20 horse.
Oh, okay.
But it's got a little, I guess you call it a P-pump injection pump. But I want to put on my dad's Cub Cadet. He's got a 1976 Cub Cadet Hydro.
Yeah, that'd be a nice little engine for that.
So water cooled. Let's see. Vanderman number 3 Vice. I got this right up the road. It was on Craigslist. The guy wanted $300, and we were talking trash and drinking mash, and I got him down to $150, and I bought some other motors and stuff from him.
It's got the built-in
pipe
circulars for pipe bending, tweaking pipe.
So this thing was bent when I got it, and I straightened it in the green press. This thing was bent in
it's like a 2-inch Acme screw, or square thread screw.
Square thread, and it was not the screw was bent. Right in here, I don't know what you call that piece.
The bottom guide.
The traveler guide was bent a few degrees, and I heated it up just barely so you couldn't see the red, and I diagonally pressed it from here to here across, and I moved it, and it's actually just a scooch to the better than good. So when you tighten,
that's
overbent by a
overbent is good. Cool.
So that's cool. Big lathe in front of you is the Colchester 17, the mighty Colchester. I paid like $1,000 for this thing, and a gear was broken in the apron for the power feed. And you guys have seen my videos, all the fixing I have done, and not just fixing, re-engineering of the mechanism, because it left the Clausing factory a design flaw that caused side loading of all the bushings. It would wear itself out in a matter of, I bet you this thing only lasted like 4 or 5 years before they had trouble with the bushings. And I don't even think they were bushings, they were iron, cast iron, the shafts ran in the iron.
Yeah.
But this is pretty much done. I got to grind the gap. The gap was left out for many years, and I think the bed wore a little, but the gap didn't, so I got to take 2 thou off the V's and 1.5 thou off the flat. But it's such a good lathe because it's got 3 1/8 through the spindle. If you take the gap out, it'll swing 26, I think. But Yeah, I made way wipers for it because I didn't have any, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah. What do you want to see next?
Just work your way around.
Okay. I know what you can see here. The Gorton. This is the Gorton 9J. This I brought from Buffalo. This came. It came out of a machine shop, and from what I understand, the owner used it, but no one else wanted to use it because everybody is, you know, strung out on the Bridgeport. You know, like I don't want to use nothing but a Bridgeport. So this thing really didn't get used that much. It had a tracer attachment on it. I didn't get it with a tracer, but actually it had a little bit of an issue with the way the gib was manufactured, the tapered gib. This is a war baby, so this is from 42, 43, something like that. You could never get the gib tight. And I think I showed in the video what I did, but I fixed it. And because the gib was never tight, it really never wore the table. And you take the table off and the scraping is like brand spanking new. It's ridiculous. So this thing is just like unbelievably in new condition. I put new leathers on it. I got a hide from Tandy Leather. The old ones were probably original from the 40s, so that kind of is nice to get that rejuvenated. I got an LW Chuck vise. My buddy Gordy, Advanced Machinery Sales up in Buffalo, I got that from him for a really good price. No, you know, pecker holes in the vise. I think it looks cool on the vintage machine to have a vintage vise. That kind of means a lot to me. Just big quill. Brown and Sharpe number 10 taper with a sleeve in there to R8 Bridgeport taper. So that's kind of cool. I think it only goes down that much. Let me go down a little bit more. It's not but 3.5 inches, where a Bridgeport is like 5 inches, but it's a rigid machine. Spindle spline backlash eliminator. Other than tree mills, I don't know how many mills have that. Kearney Trecker had a flywheel to keep the spline chatter down, the gear chatter rather. Spindle brake. I think that's a 2-speed motor. Yeah, 2-speed motor. I want to do a VFD because it's only belt change. There's no back gear. There was something goofy with the power feed, and that's what you got your left hand sitting on. A gear was
chunked out there.
The teeth came off, and you know this was broken off, and I took it apart, and this was barely hanging on. I just took my fingernail and went twink, and the tooth came off. And what I think what happened is it was a worm gear, and then it would mesh with there you go, the bevel gear. And what happened was, as far as I could surmise, this is just a theory, the brass from the worm gear, you know, the brass wears off.
Yeah. And
somebody lubricated, there's grease cups in there for lubricating this bushing, and it's got a little oil slit.
I see the grooves.
And what happened, I think, I'm surmising, is grease got into the gear teeth, and the brass shavings, very fine, started building up on the gear teeth and building up on the gear teeth, and before you know it, it was packed solid.
Yep.
And just, you know, like with brass, like sand particles, and it like wedged it apart. It started just wedging in there as it turned, and it fractured it. It's like you should never, and there's a grease cup on the front.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you do that? And the brass shavings in the bottom, I got it flushed out pretty well. I had it in a parts tank. But I am redesigning, re-engineering. I re-engineer everything. Doozer shop, that's what I do. Basically, this is kind of neat. The power input comes like from the motor here at motor RPM, and it gets gear reduction. I think it's just 30-to-1 reduction, and then it goes around a corner back to this spur gear through the miter gears. Now the deal with this is, see what it's doing. It's a very compact way to have parallel shaft gear reduction. You throw it 90 degrees through a worm gear reduction, which is quite a bit of reduction, and then you just bevel gear it back to the same plane it started in, and then you spur gear it down to your spur gear train. So I'm taking all this and I'm throwing it away. So the spur gear drives the lever on the Norton box. So this is, you know, I forget his name, Norton that worked for Hendy. came up with this style of quick change. So this is the gear we want to drive at a 30-to-1 ratio from motor RPM, I think is 1800 RPM. So this gear and this shaft, this comes out the back of the case here, and it had just a collar on it. And instead of just having the collar, I'm going to put a gear on it, bore a gear, not a gear, sprocket. And I got 2 sprockets. I'm going to put a sprocket on the input and a sprocket on where it's got to be driving to. And it's going to be a 1-to-1 ratio, so I still need to get my 30-to-1 reduction. So I got an inline planetary reducer that bolts to the motor. So I'm going to have an inline situation. So it's going to be whatever 1800 divided by 30 is RPM coming right here, and just going with a 40 roller chain
1-to-1
1-to-1 to that. So that's my solution, because people don't realize, and even as an engineer, it took me a while to wrap my head around it, worm gears are 50% efficient at their maximum load rating. So if you've got a half horsepower coming in, you only got a 1/4 horsepower coming out at full torque, because it just turns it into heat because of the friction. So now in my planetary situation, I can use like a 1/4 horse motor, and I have one. It's a nice small European frame motor, IEC frame, doesn't matter, whatever. So that's what I'm doing with that. And this has been sitting here, you guys see this in the background of my videos forever, but I'm gonna get back to it because it's for the Gorton, and I love the Gorton, and I love fixing stuff the right way. So.
Yeah, that's a neat old machine.
This is the Van Norman 22LU. U for universal table. This thing's filthy. It came out of a hosiery mill in North Ashboro, in Carolina here. It's filthy, but it's a cool machine because it goes from horizontal to vertical. It's in horizontal mode right now. It's got a 50 taper, NMBT 50, and it's got a neat. It's a 3-phase motor. It's only 2 or 3 horse. It says like boat dynamo, electric boat and dynamo company on the motor. That's kind of neat.
And universals mean that the table swivels.
And I think that's for cutting helical gears or something.
Or tapers, again, I guess whatever you want.
Anything stopping you from running it in between horizontal and vertical?
No, like if you wanted to do a cylinder head or a manifold that's at 20 degrees or something, you want to plane something, yeah, you can go anywhere in between. I just haven't got to cleaning it yet. I had the gib out and I ground the gib. Okay, let's talk about engineering, like things are bad with engineering. Because the lead screw is off to the side here, the nut's back in here, your forces for making the Y table slide go in and out are concentrated over here.
Or wanting to rack the gib.
It wants to rack it. So when you go back and forth, it wants to go
Yep.
So this gib was worn.
If you go by that logic, though, how the heck does a drill press column want to lift itself when it's got a lift screw off to the side and it lifts a collar? I mean, that blows my mind.
Because the bearing area of that column is so huge, right?
Yeah, but it's shorter than it is tall. I mean, the diameter is bigger than the length of the bearing. You would think it would want to rack.
It would want to crook it, yeah.
But actually the table traps it top and bottom, so the table won't let it crook. There you go. That's what does it.
Yeah, the weight of the table is pushing.
It's trapped. It can't rock because the table keeps it square.
Yeah.
It's a close fit. That's what.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that can be learned from that applied to this?
Well, Bridgeport has the screw in the middle, but they got a power feed knee. See, this is all power feed, rapid feed. So I'm assuming that the reason they didn't put the screw in the middle is because they got the gears and such in here for the rapid and the power feed.
Yeah.
So they got it off to the side.
Just got to lean on the left side when you want to move it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
put an opposing torque on the table as you're moving it.
So they knew this because the early Van Normans. See, this is a dovetail in a flat.
Yeah.
So the gib is in the middle. So your guiding surfaces are these.
Yes.
The old Van Normans had a dovetail and a dovetail.
So is the one on the left just vertical
This
support?
is going for the ride. There's nothing touching the side.
It's just vertical support. Yeah.
Now the later ones actually had a box here and no dovetail. So there's 3 iterations of the same 22L.
Yeah.
And the 26L is kind of the same. But that's neat. We talked about this on Home Shop Machinist the other day about power feed knees, and when X, Y, and Z, power feed and rapid. So you got your feed, and then this is rapid. You turn on, super fast. And I said, the day that I got this and I tried rapid up on the knee, it was like an epiphany. I'm like, oh, this is where it's at. You know, it's like when I had files and I bought the first angle grinder, 4.5-inch angle grinder in like the late 1980s. Like, oh my God, this is so much faster than filing.
Well, the guy that sold me the K&T said you will appreciate that power knee more than anything. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll take your word for it. And oh my God, he's right.
Cadillac?
Because my wrists, I got arthritis in my wrists, and I can't crank that thing up.
Hells no.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, right? So this thing, I got to clean it up yet. This is kind of a last burner project. So I don't know. Whatever.
And the big, what is that one?
That is a Clearman.
Clearman?
No, don't follow. Clearman.
Another jig bore, right?
It
or
is
drill press.
A drill press. That came out of the Eaton Cutler Hammer Circuit Breaker plant, I think somewhere in Gastonia, North Carolina. Kings Mountain. And the guy had it, I think it was outside for a while. There's no water in it. It was just neglected and dirty. So when I got it, we laid it down on his face to ship it, and then he hit the brakes too hard and it crunched the gear lever. So I fixed this because it's newly painted. It was broken here. This tab was broken. This tab was broken. The whole thing on the face was broken. But it's all V'd out and braced together, and it took me forever to do it, but it's done right and it's good. 12 speeds for the spindle, 9 down feed ranges. So. And they say to do it while it's running. You shift gears. You pull it out, you twist it, you get your new range, and then you slam it home. And if you think motorcycle transmissions or something, look up on top. It's redonkulous. It's kind of neat. But once again, see, I got the gibs off, and I'm cleaning all this. And it's just the table up and down. But I'm cleaning the schmung off as not to get any rust and stuff.
What is your drill press, the old one you got?
Cincinnati.
He's got an old Cincinnati. You know how the Barnes, the one that I got from you, every square inch of the table is peck marked.
Oh yeah.
His table is got V-gibs like that, so the drill can never be anything but in the hole.
Middle.
So his table's perfect.
Nice. Nice. So 11 inches of drilling stroke, right?
Yeah,
that's
nice.
fine, man.
Yeah.
So you could bore an engine cylinder on this. 11 inches of stroke. I might put this in the other corner in the high bay because the Pratt and Whitney's out there and they're similar machines.
Good luck.
So one tip, I got every machine in here on a pallet jack except for the big stuff. Everything's still up on wooden blocks.
Oh yeah. Can be moved.
Yeah.
Can be moved.
If you got a 5,000-pound pallet jack, this is how the lathe came in on 2 pallet jacks, one at the head, one at the tail. So, and it's easy, and people, level your machines, absolutely, but this thing, I use it more than I should. So the hobbyists love this Clausing 8520 mill, because it's a knee mill, but it's small, and the round column mills have their troubles, but this is a genuine knee mill, like a Bridgeport. I bought this when I was 26 years old. After researching on Practical Machinist, Home Shop Machinist, I found one. I paid $2,800 for this, a machine tool dealer in Chicago. So, and I started getting into it, and I didn't like the Clausing head, and I found a Bridgeport M head, again, learning about it from the internet. Bridgeport M head. It was in the Buffalo newspaper in the classified section. I went and looked at it. I think I paid $200 for it. Largely in good shape, hardly, not used too much. 2 Morse taper with a drawbar. Should be off. There you go. And it's got the VFD. It'll creep.
Yeah.
Braking resistor. I put a Mitutoyo digital readout on it because, you know, even back in the day, I'm like, this dial baloney, I mean, I don't know which way I turned it, to the left, to the right, and backlash. Put the Mitutoyo on it, cut the scales down. So I had a Mitutoyo 6-inch caliper. And if you look inside the encoders and the read heads and all this stuff, this thing is identical to a 6-inch Mitutoyo caliper. There's even a spot in the circuit board, a little round hole where the button battery would go, the watch battery. Huh. So the electronics in these is from the caliper. It's a circuit board with the different laminations. So this is a capacitive type read head system, you know. Enco was selling these when they went out of change the model. I got 2 of these for $500 a piece. So they're in my attic. I got to put them on something else. So
mine, I plugged it into regular mains, 110 volt, and it hasn't glitched yet. But when I ran it off the VFD,
he said that
it would just, you know, it would lose its setting, and like, well, that's the end of the world.
Yeah.
So it hasn't glitched since I just plugged it into an extension cord.
Perfect.
But I can't figure out why it would not like the VFD. I mean, the
it
VFD...
has so many weird signals, though.
Yeah, but the VFD, I just got it coming on 60 hertz and sitting there.
What's the carrier frequency associated with it?
It's something it didn't like.
Yeah. Handy tool and gauge maker. I got the carriage still up in the shop. I bought this for like $250 from my buddy Gordy in New York. Same gentleman that sold me the vise there I showed you on the Gorton. This thing had 12-inch. This thing had ice in the chip tray when I took delivery of it in the wintertime. And the headstock was completely full of grease. I'm told it came from a Kodak employee that worked at Kodak in Rochester. I don't know if the machine itself came from Kodak. There's something on here. Handyman looked up the number, and there's an anchor, I think, on here, or U.S. Navy. And the number comes back from Aberdeen, Maryland Proving Grounds, and it was full of brass. I don't know if it was doing ordnance work on it, but
cool stuff.
Yeah, a VFD, a DC drive, so I can keep the factory motor underneath there. So what's it called? Pulse width modulated DC drive?
Yeah. Pulse width. 90 volt or 180?
230.
230. Well, okay. 230.
Rare bastard.
Take us into the grinding department over here next.
All right. Let's shuffle on into the grinding department. I had this Atlas drill press when I was like 14, 15 years old. My dad bought me this Atlas drill press because I was tired of drilling holes. It is one of the quietest drill presses. It has a 1/6 horsepower GE electric motor. I'm big on quiet and smooth running. So that Van Norman, that's the grinder outside's a Van Norman also. I know we're talking about the Van Norman mill. The one I'm trying to get rid of, that's the first one I bought in my foray into trying to acquire a cylindrical grinder. So then I bought this, and I said, well, I don't need the Van Norman. So this came from Travelers Rest, South Carolina. It is a Covell. I think it's a 5x12. The tailstock's in the milk crate. It does have a tailstock. This has a 5-seat collet capacity workhead, which is nice. It's a hydraulic table. The guy tells me the hydraulic cylinder leaks, so I gotta repack that. I cleaned it a little. I think I'm gonna keep this machine even though I have the Brown & Sharpe 13. It's a production grinder. It's set up for coolant. This has an oil pump, and I think it's got bushing type bearings. Because when you run this up, the oil pressure gauge shows pressure, and I think this has got like Cincinnati Filmatic bearings where it's 4 pinch points to stabilize the grinding spindle.
But basically hydrodynamic.
Dynamic
lubrication.
And it's got the swing down precise internal grinder, which is jam up, right? So that's cool. Let me show you this. So this is a Boyer Schultz 6x12 surface grinder. I got this.
Grinding a T-nut.
Grinding a big T-nut for the Colchester lathe.
Yep.
I got this when I was in my 20s. Came from a machine tool dealer in Buffalo. I think his name was Tim.
It's a nice color.
This is army paint my dad got out of the military. It's probably older than I am when I used it. I sprayed this with the air compressor, did a full tear down, repair, put back together. It came out of a school, probably a BOCES program school, and in the back cover, you know, kids vandalize stuff and they scratch stuff. It said, I tried to make it out, it said Simple Simon in the cover. And you know, that's kind of neat. I just spray painted, instead of black oxide, I just painted over. But so, yeah, if you want a name for it, Simple Simon. But I don't know if I could ever get rid of this because it's just so darn handy, you know. It's not a roller machine, it's just V and flat way. It's just, I use it all the time.
Yeah.
I got rubber mounts, right or wrong. So this is kind of cool. It used to have an oiler in the front, and I figured the grit is all around it, a little ball oiler. But the deal is the oil comes in the table and lubricates the table ways, then goes into the saddle and lubricates the saddle ways. And there's a separate oiler for the column. But what I did is I popped out, it was like a 90-degree ball oiler fitting, and I plugged it, and I drilled through to the back. So there's a fitting on the back. I drilled through with a really long 1/8" drill bit, and I tapped it. 1032 thread, and I have a 1032 banjo fitting to, I think Clippard Pneumatics makes them, to this tubing here, 1/8" nylon tubing. So, and this is before I knew, you know, I was kind of cheap at the time. Goldenrod, I got goldenrod pump oilers instead of the Bijur, and these were kind of cheap, and I just put the lines in there. So I got way oil for the vertical column, and for the table and everything, you can see the line is red. I use automatic transmission fluid, and I got the idea, Dual recommends automatic transmission fluid for their tables, and it is a lot less sticky and a lot more free moving than using Vactra on this table. I mean, this thing with Vactra was like, you know, stuck in the mud in January. But I do put the Vactra to this fitting on top for the vertical ways. So that's cool. This is a rubber roof membrane for the skirts.
Nice.
Good tip.
Nice stuff.
So that's that. Can you get a shot of the...
I need to trade places with you.
The Brown and Sharpe 13. So this Brown and Sharpe 13 is kind of famous in the machinist world as being one of the most versatile tool cutter grinders. Mostly people have them set up as a cylindrical grinder, which this one is set up with the workhead for the oil pump comes on, and you put work between centers, and a dog will drive it. Variable speed. And I got the oil pump going. So this thing glides like butter. I mean, look at that. It's moving by itself from the inertia. It gets up on the oil, and it's just, the ways in this thing are perfect. This thing is a 1983 machine, and I believe it was made during right at the time Brown and Sharpe had the machinist strike, the largest machinist strike in the history of the United States, from what I read. All the flaking and scraping is good. You'll see on my Doozer shop channel, I got a full series of videos with the teardown of this thing. It came out of Eastman Kodak in Rochester, New York. It hardly got used. It had been grinding rubber rolls for, I don't know what Kodak was doing, for copiers or something. Incidentally, the Covell behind you was grinding rubber rolls. It was full of white rubber dust, but this was full of black rubber dust. And there's a gentleman, I think his name is Lawrence Landon in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Lawrence goes by Avant-Geared on Facebook, and Lawrence has one of these. There's a picture of this grinder and the grinder that Avant-Garde has in the Kodak factory, in Eastman Kodak in Rochester, New York. His machine's in the foreground, and this machine, my machine, is in the background. Huh. So I have a photograph of both of our machines, and we've corresponded through Facebook. But like I said, this machine is probably one of the best condition 13s around. Late serial number, I think, is a 2800 serial number. I made the trays on the back for collecting the grinding grit. Brown and Sharpe made a tray, but you could not swivel the head. This head swivels 90 degrees to the left and to the right. This cutout, it almost looks like a Byzantine arch, allows the head to swivel full 90 degrees both ways.
This is the one that I got a project for you for grind that spindle. This is what you're doing, all right?
Yeah, oh yeah, we're gonna grind spindles on this. Yeah. This cover, I put this as an auxiliary dust catcher, but if you have it just like this, you can swivel
1-inch 80-20 series.
80-20, you got it.
Yep, my favorite stuff.
I love that stuff.
I don't like the 1-inch, it's too flimsy, but you know, for that, it's perfect.
Depends on what you're doing.
Yeah, we use it for, you know, a little bit beefier movement things. So we use the 1.5 inches.
At work, I use 1.5 inches. That's all I use.
Yeah.
So, you still going?
Yep.
All right. So this is kind of cool.
You can get in there.
There's a gentleman. I think his name is Andrew. He's in California. His YouTube, I think, is Evolvent Design. He's got a Sagami grinder, cylindrical grinder, and I mentioned to him I've got a Sagami lathe. This actually came from California. It came from a company called, I believe it was Dynect Linear Actuator. Made its way to Buffalo, New York, and then I bought it in Buffalo, New York. It's a copy of a Hardinge HC, which is called a Chucker, Hardinge Chucker HC. And it's a turret lathe, and you put the different tools in there, and you go around and around, and you can, even the drill chuck, it's kind of cool. You can drill with it, and I set a stop. You run it forward, and then it bottoms out on the stop, and then you're on perfect center, which is kind of nice. But I don't use it like I'm going to set this up and run production parts. I use this as like a quick little general purpose lathe in the shop here for doing, I got a piece of aluminum in here. I was making a bushing for something. And I even got like, this is the overhead threading. You can do threading on it with chase threading, it's called. I got my little indicator bases here for run out, radial run out and axial run out. I got an indicator pointed that way. But this thing, I mean, you can turn a hardened steel dowel pin and it turns to size. There's no taper, it's rigid as can be.
Square ways? This
is a dovetail way. It's a 9-inch dovetail way. It's got the oiler here. You pump it and it oils the ways. This thing's in really good condition. Power feed on both axes. It's such a rigid machine. There's no tailstock, but I mean, other than that, it's fabulous. And like I said, you can drill with the chuck, even though there's no tailstock. But it's just such a handy general purpose shop machine. You know, some people keep their 9-inch South Bend around or their Atlas 10-inch around for a general shop machine. This thing is Cadillac. It is unbelievable. I stuck this lamp on it. This is an OC White lamp from 1910, 1920. These used to go on eBay for like $500, and I got it from an old factory in Buffalo, and it happens to clamp on. I think this is for coolant hose or something.
Is that a brass lamp?
It is. Yeah, it's brass. Yeah.
Brennan polished the brass lamp on our American 1910 bandsaw.
Yeah. It was pretty beat up, so it's not especially
well cherry
polished, but
nice.
And someday I'll do a chase threading video. If you're interested, this is a cool piece of factory furniture that was in the trash. It's just a table made out of angle iron, but it works so well for my chucks, and it's just 12 inches off the wall. Kind of neat. HLVH Hardinge. I got it cheap. The dovetails need to be reground. I already reground the base on the little Boyer Schultz 612, but I got a dovetail cutter, and I'm going to re-skim the dovetails and just fit it, you know, do it right. So no, I'm not going to scrape this. There's a lot of people on the metalworking community, they're all jazzed up about scraping. That's great. I'm not taking anything away from them. But my philosophy is I don't really want to learn scraping yet. But the deal is this. This has got about 8 or 10 thousandths of belly in the dovetails. If I remill the dovetails with a dovetail cutter, right? I get it in the mill, I get everything lined up, and you know, I got a dovetail cutter, right? If I go in there and line everything up and recut that, I'm taking that 10 thousandths or 12 thousandths of belly out, right? So it's good and straight. It may not have a great bearings. I mean, people scrape and they make it perfect. I bet you, I'm going to call this 95% better than it was.
You know what you're doing. You're taking it to the point where if they measured the wear on their ways and it was 1,000ths, they're like,
Yeah.
I ain't gonna correct it. You're gonna get there machining it.
Machining it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
And even if it's the surface is going to be a milled surface, but you know what? That holds oil too. The
Yeah.
little facets and pockets. And I'm not down on the scraping guys, but they talk about it like it's like elitist, super duper. And I'm not taking nothing away from them, but you don't have to scrape everything. This is going to be 95% better than it was. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it. Bandsaw. Dual, I think it's called a 1216 or 1612. I think it's called 1612. This came off a military base. A lot of this military base stuff is 208 volts. I'm not sure why.
Because it's we don't like when we get 208 motor, but I mean it's 208 Y 120 because they got a 120 leg off of the
for the lamps
off the
plugs
exactly.
and outlets,
Yeah.
So they partsed it out. I bought this for like, I don't know, $750. It was missing a ton of doodads. I think they partsed it out to make other machines complete. I made the center thing for the table and parts for the blade welder. I took the original motor out and I replaced it with a 3-horse motor, took the Reeves drive out and put a VFD on it. It's still got the high-low transmission, but now with a 3-horse motor and a VFD, I can cook with this thing. I can friction saw. And if you've never seen friction sawing, it looks like you're cutting with a grinding wheel.
Mm-hmm.
The sparks are shooting out. I also figured out that the rubber tires get really hot when you friction saw.
Yeah.
But so I use it for wood or metal. I think a 1-inch blade in there now. I was cutting structural steel, building a trailer hitch for my car, and it works jam up for that. You know, angle iron and box tubing. I got smaller blades. I got, you know, all the blades, 1/4 inch, 3/8, 1/2 inch, 5/8, up to 3/4, 1 inch. The blade welder is awesome. I buy the 100-foot coils. I make, for my horizontal bandsaw, I'll even make blades for that. It's just so handy to be able, and I've welded high-speed steel. I've welded carbon steel. It doesn't matter. I got 2 lamps on it. Let me click it on, I'll show you. So that's the breaker, and the lamps come on. And, you know, you got to see both sides of your cut. I mean,
you can't have shadows on a bandsaw.
Yeah, we got one at work in the shadows, and it's like, this is horrible. So instead of this being the start, it puts power to the VFD, and that comes on. So I got my variable speed here, and I got a headlight switch. So that's in high, and that's the VFD. And that'll come right down to almost nothing. Well, that is nothing. So that's in high, right? And you know, you can cut wood with it, you can cut aluminum. So let me switch it into low. Now it's running, I'm just gonna switch it in gear while it's running.
So it's like a back gear.
Yeah, it's like a back gear. I don't know if it popped in. There it goes, it popped in. So surface feet per minute, I don't know what that is, but it's darn slow. And let me pop it into high. Because I'm shifting at like 2 hertz, you know?
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt it. So that's kind of neat. blade welder works, everything. And before I got the job selector, it did not have a job selector. I bought this on eBay. I think I paid 75 bucks for it, but it's in good shape. You can, with the job selector, it allows you to cut meteorites and plutonium and kryptonite. But without the job selector, you can't.
Petrified wood meteorites. There it is.
Nice.
Right there. I didn't know there was a setting for that.
Yeah, I think they used to have like uranium something, you know.
There was a
You want to make dust out of.
Yeah.
there was a thick book of material codes that Infilco used to use when they came from Westinghouse, and it was just like you had to have a material code on every print of what you're making and everything. And one of the codes they had was ivory tusk.
Nice.
Yeah, and so when they didn't need to have a material, everything, the engineers would code everything with ivory tusk, just as a joke,
Nice.
just to have that code.
That's cool. Parts sink. I mean, a lot of shops they don't. They just have a tub of gasoline. There's a little pump in there, and this is just so handy for cleaning everything.
We need to do that.
And it's on wheels, so what I do is I wheel it over to the hoist and put a heavy object over it.
Yep.
And so I added this. I mean, you're always going to need something for your brushes and your. I got wire brushes.
You need to weld. You need to take and weld a 1x1 stainless angle around that sink to stabilize that.
I know, right?
That's a little flimsy there, Doozer.
In my oil can collection, you know, I hang on the back here, right?
Uh-huh.
So this is cool, design, right?
Yeah.
So these were always straight, right? And I put a curve in it with the brake line tubing bender. It was a straight piece of 1/4-inch tubing, and I put a little down and up.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Because you see that drip?
Yep. That would run back into the handle.
That would run back, and you get oil all over. So it's very functional, and it looks like a lightning bolt. It looks cool. It looks like bam. I'm artistic. Hear me roar, right? I don't know.
You could do the same with a loop. Put a loop in it.
I thought about that because I got a long
You can
one.
make them a lot shorter.
Yes. Then you can hang it. You can hang it. So that's cool. And this comes off, right? It's got a little inserted little Z-bar thing. Glendo AccuFinish diamond wheel. I mean, carbide. You got to have that if you got carbide. Even inserts, you just, you know.
And then drawers and drawers and drawers,
Drawers
and
and drawers
tooling.
and parts and drawers and, you know, and just from soup to nuts.
Granite inspection
Granite
slab right there.
inspection slab.
That's the indicator drawer and indicator drawer.
Yeah, multifaceted, multi-use. Like Jacobs tapers and lathe tapers and, you know, just, you got to have different assorted chucks and adapters. These are Morse tapers, straight shank and tool bits and lathe bits and tapping bits. And these were from Liberty Bank. And they make great tool storage. You know, chucks and arbors, you know. Taper knockers.
I cannot get the chuck out of that quill. I took my Sears, you know, it was a Sears, I'm sorry, Delta. My Delta #2 taper knocker. Drove it all the way in, and all it did was get tight. And then when I drove it back out, the taper knocker was actually just, you know.
Drive it in and heat the spindle.
I got to do something because it is not coming out.
It's probably been in there longer than you've been alive.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I like this press.
Yep, so this press is kind of cool. This is a K.R. Wilson. K.R. Wilson made in Arcade, New York, Buffalo, New York. They had offices downtown in Buffalo and then Arcade later on. What makes this press cool is it's like a hand arbor press because you've got the hand wheel here, so it's rack and pinion on the ram. And you can also pop in the hydraulics and you can pump. You know, so if I go down and then watch the gauge, 5 tons of pressure, and it's very rapid acting. So when you're done, push your thing, release the pressure,
So does applying the hydraulics also lock the rack so that
The rack's always engaged.
rack's always engaged?
So now it's capable of being hydraulic, but you can also move it with the rack. You can't move it back, right? So you loosen the pressure and you go up.
Okay,
So it puts the
okay.
pressure. So
Gotcha,
it's a
gotcha.
one-way deal. So you go down, okay, I'm at my press, whatever I'm pressing, crank it up, and you can go all the way to 25 or whatever tons. Release it, bam, back. So it's just the most handy press I've ever seen. It's just so convenient and so fast. It's called the Model 37. They made the Model 37s in various tonnages. 37R, I don't know what the R means.
25 ton.
So K.R. Wilson made the tools for Ford Motor Company at the dealer, like the rotunda tools for adjusting your transmission and power. K.R. Wilson made those. They made the ones for rebabbiting your Model T Ford engine blocks and crankshafts. K.R. Wilson, Buffalo, New York, great old company. So for straightening shafts, I mean, these are V blocks also, right? If you flip these sideways, it's a V, but you can flip it completely over and it's another V for straightening shafts. And again, I put this table tray on the front because you're always looking for, I got to put something, a mandrel to push with.
Yep.
And little plates and little push knocker. I mean, it's endless. And it was getting a little much, so I was like, I got a bench or something. And I put this here, it's great. And then I got these little metal bins. Love metal bins in a shop, it adds a lot. I mean, the bottom two are plastic, but when you have something metal, it just says, I have a vintage shop, I'm not a, plastic.
Yep.
Da-dee-da-da.
Hates plastic.
Yeah, I hate plastic.
Hates plastic.
And even so much years ago, they used to have presentation trays in manufacturing, right? Like they put the parts in little trays and they got like a cash register tray and you scoop it out. So these are old. This was really bad. And I left the patina on this one. And they're soldered, the pieces are just soldered together. You've got a number on it.
Yep.
But I mean, stuff like this, just to have in a shop is just so cool. And you put them on the bench and you're taking some apart, and I should have this because then I got my stuff all over. But that's what, this is for. And it just makes you feel like you're...
Yeah, I'm running off of desk insert pencil trays right now for holding in, which are plastic, of course.
Yeah.
But I do have a wooden one. I got a wooden one, which that's the next coolest thing to, rolled and seamed metal.
So this is organization. These are like for your, I don't know, crafts and stuff. These are wood. I don't know where these came from. This has got like little Care Bears on it and stuff. I don't know, keepsake stuff. But this is what I do in my drawers to keep stuff organized. You see, for end mills and such, it kind of works. Good tip, drawer liner. I use felt paper.
These tapered?
I don't think so.
It's like a 3/4, 5/8 or 3/4 shank by 1 inch.
Yeah.
2 flute.
You need it, put it in your pocket.
Yeah, I might liberate a few of those from you.
There you go.
I got to lay down a few dollars here for a couple of those items.
And taper drill bits. Yeah, I used to tell people.
How many of them are sharp?
They're pretty sharp. A lot of them are. Gotta touch them up. People are so used to seeing drill chucks, and in the industry, you use tapered shafts.
Yeah, oh yeah.
People don't understand.
Same taper I have on my Cincinnati, probably.
Well, those are 2,
That's
and then
a
it goes
2.
3, and then it goes up to 4.
You can take 2 or a 2-to-1, reducer, and sleeve them down.
So that's that.
There's your Destacos. That's
Yep.
a good heavy one. Yeah, that's
good.
a
For the
nice
door.
one.
Yep. And like this is off the press table. It's
Uh-huh.
a die block. I collect old lamps. These are Vimco, stands for Victory in Manufacturing, made in Buffalo, New York. Vimco used to make the lampshade. They used to make the spiral gooseneck material. So yeah, Vimco, cool old lamps. Kind of neat.
Neat stuff.
Yep. Decal.
Awesome.
Is that what you want? I mean,
So we're good to go.
Good to go.
We're loaded up. Thank you, Doozer.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Always a pleasure. Always a
here.
pleasure. And now we'll get back on the road and hopefully not dump it on the
Not
on the
loosen
side.
your load.
Not loosen our load on the way back. Well, I'm sure if you're like me that your mind was just blown by what Doozer has. He's been collecting since he was, early 20s, so 20 some years of machine collecting. That's what he can get you. So just hope you enjoyed it. Quick trip down to Doozer's shop to pick up the Walker Turner radial drill. I'll probably do a little bit more of a video on that once we start tearing into it. But catch you next time on Engineers Workshop. Take care.